The apartment building was silent, except for the sound of a child crying through thin walls. It was nearly midnight. Rain pressed softly against the windows, while exhausted city traffic hummed somewhere far below. Inside apartment 4B, Daniel Harper stood in front of a burnt frying pan with one hand covering his eyes. Smoke floated toward the ceiling. Again. His 8-year-old son, Noah, sat at the kitchen table wearing oversized pajamas, quietly poking cold cereal with a spoon. "Dad," Noah whispered carefully, "it's okay, I'm not really hungry." That sentence hurt more than the smoke in Daniel's lungs. Because Noah said it too often. Daniel swallowed hard. 3 years ago, he used to have a family dinner table full of laughter. Now he could barely make scrambled eggs without ruining them. He looked at the empty chair across from him. Still empty. Still painful. Still impossible to look at for too long. His wife, Emily, had died in a car accident on a rainy night almost exactly like this one. And ever since then, everything felt unfinished. The bills stacked endlessly. Laundry filled corners of the apartment. Work consumed every ounce of his energy. And grief sat quietly inside him like something alive. Noah suddenly coughed from the smoke. Daniel quickly opened the kitchen window. "I'm sorry, buddy. You always say sorry." The child didn't mean it cruelly. That made it worse. Daniel turned away before Noah could see tears forming in his eyes. Downstairs, in apartment 3A, Olivia Bennett sat on the floor beside her sleeping daughter, Lily. The little girl's cheeks were still wet from crying. Olivia gently brushed hair away from her forehead. "You miss him tonight," she whispered softly. Lily nodded without opening her eyes. "I heard another girl at school say dads are supposed to pick you up when you fall." Olivia's chest tightened instantly. Because Lily's father had walked out 2 years ago without even saying goodbye properly. No explanation. No apology. One day, he simply decided fatherhood was too heavy. And Olivia had spent every day since pretending she wasn't drowning. She worked double shifts at a hospital reception desk. Barely slept. Skipped meals constantly. Smiled at strangers while emotionally collapsing inside. The hardest part wasn't exhaustion. It was pretending her daughter wasn't noticing it. Upstairs, another loud crash echoed through the ceiling. Olivia sighed. "The cooking guy again." Lily smiled sleepily. "He sounds sad." Olivia froze for a second. Children noticed everything. Even loneliness. The next morning arrived gray and cold. Daniel rushed Noah toward school while carrying 2 bags, a coffee cup, and a permission slip he forgot to sign. "Dad, slow down." "I am slowing down." "You're walking fast while saying slow down." Daniel almost laughed. Almost. As they reached the building entrance, the door suddenly swung inward. And someone collided directly into him. Coffee spilled instantly. "Oh my God. I'm so sorry." The words came out at the same time. Daniel looked up. A woman stood in front of him, holding a little girl's hand, while balancing grocery bags against her hip. Dark circles sat under her eyes. Her hair was tied up carelessly. She looked exhausted. But kind. Very kind. Olivia stared at the coffee, soaking through her sweater. Then at Daniel's horrified face. "I swear this is the 3rd thing I've ruined this week," he muttered. Noah sighed dramatically. "It's actually the 7th. Olivia unexpectedly laughed. A real laugh. Small, tired, but real. And Daniel realized it was the first genuine laugh he'd heard in months. Lily hid shyly behind her mother. Noah immediately noticed the unicorn backpack she carried. "You like dinosaurs?" he asked randomly. She blinked. "What?" "Your backpack has dinosaur pins." Lily looked down. "Oh, yeah. I have dinosaur cards." Olivia and Daniel exchanged a quick glance. Children really did skip awkwardness entirely. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. I'll pay for the coffee stain. It's fine. No, seriously. It's just coffee. A pause settled between them. Not uncomfortable. Just tired. Like two strangers carrying invisible mountains. Olivia adjusted her grocery bag. Well, we're late. Daniel nodded quickly. Right, same. For a second, neither moved. Then Noah smiled at Lily. Bye. She smiled back shyly. And somehow, that tiny interaction lingered with both adults long after they walked away. That evening, Daniel failed dinner again. This time it was pasta. Somehow both undercooked and burned. Noah stared carefully at the plate. That's impressive. Daniel groaned. You're never letting me forget these, are you? A knock suddenly interrupted them. Daniel opened the door. Nobody stood there. But on the floor sat a warm container covered in foil. Attached was a sticky note. Cooking break from downstairs. Daniel stared at it in confusion. Inside was homemade chicken soup. Still warm. Still smelling like someone cared. Noah's eyes widened. Dad. Daniel sat silently at the table after Noah fell asleep later that night. The apartment was quiet again. But for the first time in years, it didn't feel completely empty. Over the next few weeks, strange little routines began forming naturally. The children became friends first. Of course they did. Children were fearless that way. Lily started coming upstairs after school sometimes. Noah helped her with math. Lily helped Noah organize his chaotic room. Daniel and Olivia kept accidentally crossing paths. Laundry room. Parking lot. School pickup. Corner store. Always brief conversations. Always polite. Always guarded. Until one rainy evening changed something. Lily suddenly developed a severe asthma attack while Olivia was at work. The school couldn't reach her. Daniel answered as Noah's emergency contact happened to be listed beside Lily's class file from a field trip form. He rushed to the nurse's office immediately. By the time Olivia arrived at the hospital, soaked from rain and completely panicked, Daniel was sitting beside Lily's bed holding a juice box while Noah tried making funny dinosaur noises. Olivia stopped at the doorway. Her breathing shook. Mom, Lily whispered weakly. Olivia rushed forward instantly. Oh God, baby. Daniel quietly stood. She's okay. Olivia looked at him. Really looked at him. His tired eyes. His soaked jacket. The way he stayed calm for her daughter. And suddenly, something inside her cracked slightly. Not romance. Trust. Which was somehow harder. Outside the hospital room later, Olivia leaned against the wall. I didn't know who else they'd call. Daniel nodded. You don't have to explain. She looked down. I hate feeling like I'm failing her. Daniel laughed softly without humor. Then we have something in common. That sentence lingered heavily between them. Because both understood exactly what it meant. Weeks turned into months. Winter arrived slowly. And little moments began stitching broken pieces together. Daniel fixed Lily's broken toy kitchen. Olivia taught Noah how to bake actual edible cookies. The four of them attended school events together, accidentally at first. Then intentionally. Some nights, Olivia would sit at Daniel's kitchen table after the children fell asleep. Steam rose from coffee mugs, while city lights glowed through windows. And they talked. Not flirted. Talked. About exhaustion. Fear. Bills. Loneliness. Grief. The terrifying pressure of being the only parent left standing. One night Daniel quietly admitted something. I still set two plates sometimes. Olivia looked at him carefully. He stared into his coffee. Not because I forget she's gone. His voice tightened. I think part of me still waits for her to walk through the door. Olivia's eyes softened painfully. That doesn't sound crazy. It feels crazy. No, she whispered. It sounds lonely. Silence filled the kitchen gently. Not empty silence. Safe silence. And for the first time in years, Daniel didn't feel alone inside it. But healing scared people. Especially broken people. Because happiness felt temporary. Like something life could steal again. One evening, Noah accidentally asked a question during dinner. Do you think we'd all live together someday? Everything froze. Olivia nearly dropped her fork. Daniel stared silently. Lily smiled innocently. We already act like a family. The adults exchanged panicked glances instantly. Not because the children were wrong. Because they were. That frightened them. After the children slept, Olivia stood near the window nervously. We should slow this down. Daniel's expression shifted immediately. Okay. I just mean. You don't have to explain. But this time, he sounded hurt. And Olivia noticed. Which hurt her too. Because she wasn't pulling away from him. She was pulling away from fear. Fear of depending on someone again. Fear of losing someone again. Fear of building another emotional home that could collapse overnight. Over the next few days, distance quietly formed between them. Texts became shorter. Visits became fewer. The children noticed immediately. Children always did. Then came the night everything exploded. Olivia's ex-husband returned unexpectedly. Mark. Tall. Confident. Smiling like he hadn't shattered lives. He appeared outside Lily's school claiming he wanted another chance. Daniel saw them, talking from across the street. Saw Olivia crying. Saw Mark touching her shoulder. And every old wound inside Daniel reopened instantly. Loss. Replacement. Abandonment. He walked away before hearing the conversation. That night, he ignored Olivia's calls. Ignored her texts. Ignored the knock on his door. Until Noah quietly asked from the hallway, Are you mad at Lily too? Daniel froze. Children always paid the emotional price adults created. The next morning, Olivia confronted him outside the building. You don't get to disappear without talking to me. Daniel looked exhausted. I saw him. And what am I supposed to think? That maybe you should ask instead of assuming. Her voice cracked. He abandoned us. Daniel looked away. I can't do this again. Olivia's expression softened instantly. Do what? Need someone. The honesty in his voice destroyed her anger immediately. Because she understood that fear completely. Daniel shook his head. You know what the worst part of losing someone is. Olivia stayed silent. You survive it. Rain started falling softly around them. And then everyone expects you to keep living like your heart didn't learn something terrible. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared too. That confession changed everything. Because neither needed perfection. They needed honesty. But life wasn't finished testing them yet. A week later, Noah collapsed during basketball practice. Daniel arrived at the hospital terrified beyond reason. Every fluorescent hallway looked like trauma. Every machine sound felt unbearable. Doctors explained it was severe dehydration, mixed with exhaustion and stress. But Daniel barely heard them. Because all he could think was, not again. Please, not again. He sat beside Noah's hospital bed, trembling silently. Then Olivia appeared beside him, without a word. She brought coffee, clean clothes, and quiet presence. Hours later, Daniel finally broke down. I'm failing him. Olivia immediately shook her head. No. He deserves better than this. He deserves you. Daniel covered his face. I don't know how to do this alone anymore. Olivia's eyes filled instantly. Because neither did she. Slowly, she reached for his trembling hand. And this time, neither pulled away. The emotional climax arrived 3 nights later during a citywide blackout. The building lost power completely. Rain hammered against windows. Children panicked upstairs. Candles flickered softly across Daniel's apartment while thunder shook the walls. Lily became frightened during the storm. Noah tried comforting her. Olivia stood near the kitchen window silently while Daniel handed out flashlights. Then suddenly Lily asked the question nobody expected. Are we pretending, or are we actually becoming a family? The apartment went completely still. Children. Always honest. Daniel looked at Olivia carefully. Fear sat openly in both their eyes. But so did love. Real love. The terrifying kind. The kind built slowly through exhaustion, grief, hospital visits, burnt dinners, sleepless nights, and survival. Not fantasy. Choice. Olivia's voice shook slightly. I don't know what families are supposed to look like anymore. Daniel stepped closer quietly. Maybe they look like people who stay. That sentence broke something open inside her completely. Because Mark left. Because grief stole Emily. Because life had taken so much already. But Daniel stayed. Even when things got hard. Even when fear told him to run. Even when love terrified him. And Olivia realized something important. Healing wasn't finding someone perfect. Healing was finding someone willing to hold your broken pieces, gently, without asking you to hide them. Tears filled her eyes. So what happens now? Daniel looked toward the children. Noah pretending not to listen. Lily clutching a blanket. 2 lonely kids who accidentally brought 2 broken adults back to life. Then he looked at Olivia again. We stopped surviving alone. The power suddenly returned. Lights flooded the apartment softly. But nobody moved. Because something far more important had already changed. 1 year later, the apartment building felt different. Warmer. Alive. Saturday morning sunlight poured into the kitchen, while pancakes burned slightly on the stove. Some things never changed. Noah, Daniel called. Why does smoke follow me personally? Because you challenge food emotionally. Laughter echoed instantly. Real laughter. The kind that filled homes completely. Olivia stood beside the counter smiling, while Lily decorated pancakes badly with whipped cream. Family photos now covered the refrigerator. School drawings. Vacation magnets. Messy life. Beautiful life. Not perfect. Never perfect. But real. Daniel wrapped an arm around Olivia's waist gently. You know, he whispered, we're still kind of a disaster. Olivia smiled softly. Yeah. Then she leaned against him. But we're not lonely disasters anymore. And somehow, that made all the difference. Outside, rain began falling lightly again. But this time, the apartment didn't feel cold. This time, dinner tables were full. This time, children laughed freely. This time, nobody ate alone. And for 2 people who once believed life had already taken everything from them. That kind of love felt almost miraculous. Not because it saved them, but because it taught them they were still allowed to heal. Together.